I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Public comment on the agenda items, and as I usually do, whatever else you want to talk about. Anybody want a public comment?
Good evening again. My name is Chris Warm from Bellevue. I feel like I'm living in deja vu at this point. Been to quite a few of these. Did bring new pictures in case these hope to, grab the attention. You guys have all seen them, so I'll just kind of relay them for the public.
Fine.
It's going on, I lost count of the days, but we are well aware of the issue that happened on July 9th. It's coming up on September. I've asked quite a few times in private and in public at this forum for an answer of what we're to do with this. That was the damage done to our road from the storm. It was caused by town culverts. And since that point, there's not only been no answer to remediate these issues, the problem's been added to in several spots along our road. So I'm here again tonight to ask what we're doing about this. I understand it's a private road, and Tim has been contracted to fix the municipal drainage down Canterbury. They've also been fixing the other private road on Canterbury, which is torn. They're on private property today, digging up a nice big culvert. So I don't understand how one private road is getting precedent over another and what I'm supposed to do about it besides keep asking and pleading with the board, because not answering is not an answer. Tell me no, and then I can make other arrangements and go about it a different way than trying to be nice about it, It's a little bit beyond the point of ridiculous at this point. So these are the new culverts that have been installed on Canterbury, directly facing Bellevue. And the damage is just astronomical. So besides the bill for the drainage pipe and the rock that I received from Tam, repaving our road is upwards of $100,000 to fix the damage that was done on the storm. And there's still water coming down that from those culverts off the top of Canterbury. No water coming from Bellevue, which our private culvert could handle no problem. So I really hope for an answer. Hey, we're gonna help you out. Hey, we're gonna take the middle part of the equation, because when the town's working on drainage at the top of the hill, and then at the fork of Canterbury and Forest Hill, right down there, and I'm in the middle of those two. And again, no answer. So you can't start at the start and go to the finish and not accept anything in between and just go, oh, well, private culvert. So, yeah, I really hope to get some response, whether it's good or bad, but again, like I said, not answering and ignoring the situation is not a response. And my problem isn't going away, so neither will I. It's every second and fourth Monday. Fortunately, my wife's understanding and knows that I need to be here for the representation of our road. The problem's not going away. So, thank you for your time.
I hear you loud and clear, Chris, and when I have a yes or no answer for you, I most certainly will convey it.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll add is, to my knowledge, at this point in time, nobody has been contracted for anything. This is an emergency provision providing for all these happenings. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, I'm a little confused, so just so you guys are smart on this subject, can clear it up for me. The gentleman said that there's something that the town is doing for another private road that we're not doing for his private road? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm just curious.
That's what he said, and I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah. So,
That's alarming in itself. Emergency status or not, you're adding new drainage to Canterbury. It's not fixing existing.
I haven't been up there to see just what's being added to, and I'm not gonna get myself in trouble by talking too much, except to say that's a natural stream bed. Canterbury Road has a couple of pipes in it to transmit water, which is not from the town. It's from up above the hill in a natural stream bed up there. We could choose not to have the pipes and just let it flow across the top of the road. Either way, it's gonna go down through that natural stream bed valley. I've looked at the topos, I'm familiar with up there. So, not challenging what you're saying. And last meeting, you heard me say, when we talked about all the bonds we voted on, I said to everybody, do you all understand that what we are voting on is for public infrastructure? Did everybody hear that? If we were to vote on that and use it for private money, I'd go visit Bob in jail is probably what would happen. So I have emailed all the people in regard to the private matter, as well as public with FEMA help and whatnot, all of our representatives. And I'd be happy to come up and take a look, because I don't know fully what's going on with who's doing what, but it's anecdotal. I'm not sure what's going on, except to say there are no contracts. It's emergency work at now.
Okay, is anyone else?
Everybody, Travis Locicero, I live up on Canterbury Road, at the junction of Bellevue and Canterbury. So half my property is on the private road, half my property is on Canterbury. So, understanding, and this is out of my purview, so I'm just speaking from, history and the things you read and you talk to people. We take care of the private road, right? We get that. We snow plow, we do tree work, lines are orange in Rockland. We get sanitation service up that road. So as a taxpayer, everybody on Bellevue or any other private road, we don't get a discount on our taxes, right? We're paying full boat, just like everybody else is. So when does it become the right thing to do and to take care of your taxpayers and your voters? To come in and, in a situation like this, emergency situation, no contracts, obviously there was no quotes, right? Was there a remediation plan done? Was there any kind of erosion plan done? Was there any kind of, there's no dust control being done, I can tell you that. So when does it become, okay, you know what, there are taxpayers. In this situation, 100-year flood or whatever you want to call it, and it's water coming from the mountain, you're still directing it down under Canterbury onto Bellevue. Now you've added what, 3 more? There's 3 more culverts adding to that runoff. So, I just want to put it out there that when do you take care of all the taxpayers? We don't get all the services that everybody else does, but we pay the same amount of taxes.
No, you don't.
Really?
I live in the sewer district. Tonight, I'm gonna read off in our sewer that for this remediation, we're gonna add $47,000 possibly for the FEMA payments for a district that you have nothing to do with. You don't pay for any of that. It
I'm
doesn't
not
cost
saying
you
that, I'm
anything.
saying up until this point, we pay taxes, right? We pay town taxes. We don't pay the sewer because we don't have it.
That's right,
Right.
nor the water.
But we don't get any of the snow plowing, we don't get road repairs, we don't get any of that. So when does it become, like you said, the right thing to take care of your taxpayers? That's the only thing I would put out there.
Yep.
And the work being done on Canterbury, I never saw any notices of construction. Okay? They almost blocked Bellevue and trapped us in there while they were digging the culvert. Fortunately, I looked out the window and saw the excavator starting to dig a hole. I moved my wife's car so she can go out. I moved my son's car, he could go to work, and I moved my truck so I could go to work. So, and I called Chris as well. Said, hey, if you're not out, you better get out because they're digging a hole. So, you know, it would be nice to have some public information, and it may be out there. It may be on the website. I haven't looked. I didn't see it in any of the papers. So in a situation like this, yes, it is an emergency situation, but it would be nice to inform people of a disruption of their daily lives. Okay? And there's dust everywhere, on our houses, cars, in the houses, because there's no dust remediation being done. So, just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Jose Albira. You've heard from my wife the last meeting, Linda Albira. I live on Bellevue Road as well. And we've had our home up there for over 35 years. And we can't afford to continue to pay for the destruction of our road, which is the only way to get in and out of our property, as well as a number of other people that live on our road at Bellevue. We're retired, we are on a fixed income, and this needs to be taken care of. As Chris and Travis have said, you know, we cannot be responsible for what the town has done to funnel water down without thinking about what's in the middle, which was us and Bellevue Road. It literally wiped out our road for 50 or more feet and about 15 or 20 feet deep. And it goes on for hundreds of feet into the woods, which has undermined trees. It has now put a power pole at risk, which I have contacted O&R for and hoping they'll get here soon to make sure that it's okay. But to add 3 more pipes, 24 inches in diameter, each one of them, to the 4 that are already there, 7 pipes with 24 inches? Can you imagine how much water that would bring down now if we get this kind of a storm again? It's not if, actually, it's when we get another storm like this again, because this is going to continue to happen. We were stuck up in our home, unable to get out for close to 14 days. No fault of the town, obviously. It was just a natural happening, but we hardly had anyone, if anyone, come up and see, hey, are you guys okay? Except a number of volunteers, which I'm very grateful for. But my wife contacted the town highway department, and he was supposed to get back to her when he met with the engineer to see what they could do. The town engineer. He hasn't met with the town engineer, and I would please ask to contact your town engineer and have him and your highway supervisor please come up to the property. Please help us out so that we can get this taken care of. The winter is coming pretty quick on us, and we have to get the road, not just with gravel, which is where we're at, but we need to cover it in blacktop. It's going to cost an unbelievable amount of money. But the town needs to take some responsibility for that, being that they directed all that water down onto our road to go out at the other end without considering our road and the culvert pipe situation that we had. So again, please, can you help us? Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
We got one in the back.
Hi, Tony McGowan. This is a brief narrative from the other side of the top of Canterbury Road. Very grateful for the town coming in and doing the emergency FEMA relief, putting in new culverts. channeling water in a way that is not perfect and that needs to be addressed still, but that might help. I'm going to say something that people don't think. This isn't new. This wasn't a one-time event. I moved into 175 Canterbury Road, just below Bobby Smith, across from the Fays, way up near the top. Wow, 94, 96, something like that. I had a tiny driveway, a house, a stone house built in 1921, cottage really, the first thing on the mountain. And I've been fixing it up since then. Raised my 2 girls there. We're still there. Love it. I had a rusted 10-inch galvanized pipe under my single-lane driveway that, to my mind, I'm guessing, had never been overflooded or challenged with water flow. Going back, I don't know how long, probably to the 1950s. Then after I bought my house, up above me, huge development happened, and water was not dealt with correctly. Lots of asphalt, lots of development, a catchment pond, at least 2 large dwellings, and some of that water was channeled into the gully above Bellevue. Most of it overwhelmed that system and started coming down the road past Bobby Smith's and then just into the corner of my property. In the bottom corner of my property, I now have 8 or 9 feet deep the town roads, gravel, and big chunks of black asphalt. I've lost my garden, I've lost my driveway. It's the 3rd time in the last 20 years. It's not just this one event. 8 years ago or so, hired a backhoe guy and spent $6-8 grand and expanded my driveway and put in my own culvert pipe matching what the town's putting in now, same dimensions. And it's been overwhelmed since then increasingly, because I think at the top of the hill, these pipes that have now been added to have been repeatedly overwhelmed. But I don't know. I mean, Mary Canusa is here below me. It's a problem there. It's a problem below her. And then it goes under a road, and the problem eventually finds that culvert next to a gentleman named John's house, who was completely flooded out by the same water. Rupco, this and that, avenues for trying to get some help financially so I can go in again with a backhoe and clean it up again. It's turned into nothing. Nobody's gotten back to me. I don't know that the town was serious when workers standing in the road suggested that they might run a pipe underground through all of our properties to try to join it up. I know that Chris Akis, is that his name, was quite serious, that there was tons of money to do this sort of thing, but it has to be, the risk has to be taken by the town, because it would be paid back later, and probably not all of it. So I see that problem, but I'm stuck. I'm waiting to see what the town's doing, which looks like putting asphalt down with all these new, catchment basins and culverts and swales and whatnot. But I'm being told in the road by a gentleman named Gary that there's no plan that they're not figuring out as they stand there and make decisions. There's no plan or engineer on paper that a citizen can look at. That they're winging it is the language. And that the FEMA money can only return things to the way that they were, which just isn't true, because they've tripled the drainage. And they're burying pipes for hundreds of yards, which is not the way it was. So we're not returning, we're improving, but not enough. Because it's gonna come through by force, I'm told, the top northwest corner of my property, next time there's one of these events. One of these hurricanes that's brewing now. And do I redo ironically, I need the fill that's arrived, because all my topsoil was washed out. So I have to use a backhoe, borrowing a friend's, maybe hiring one, and I'm gonna take the 8 feet deep fill and make that the underlayment to when I bring in a new yard. So I don't want any more everything removed. I want help moving stuff around so that I can have a yard again. But if I do that, very capable of doing that, been waiting. I want to do that before the snow flies. I have to know that the upper corner of my property isn't just going to be a big swale directed at my property. And I'm told now that it must take some of the flow, which means all of it. Once the leaves go into the culvert grates and it's overwhelmed again. So again, there's a lot of language. What I'm trying to say is really grateful for the wonderful work that's being done, hammering rock and putting in pipes. I really hope that helps. One thing that is true is that in very recent history, lots of development went in above me. And all that asphalt, driveways, catchment ponds, it's all coming to the corner of our properties and the people below me too. It's like but different than the problem with Bellevue. Up above us, the development, which is younger than 30 years, has caused this problem. I haven't done any archaeology in the records to see if there was proper hydrology done when those properties went in. I'm not naming them because they're neighbors and acquaintances. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying these big developments up above us have newly caused this problem. And I don't know that the pipes were correct when it happened. And it's going to happen again. And I'm standing here with my neighbor, hoping for some kind of answer. Curbs stop about 100 yards below our properties. Curbs would help, but they'd be overwhelmed as well. I don't know what the answer is, but I definitely do not want these floods intentionally channeled directly through my property so that I get washed out again. Maybe the town with an easement and an agreement that they manage it and take care of it, come through my property, I'd welcome them with machines and big pipes, bury it, put grass, pay for it. It's going to happen again. That's the problem. The top of Canterbury is a problem. And we've asked repeatedly to talk to an engineer, to even find out who the engineer is, to see something on paper. When I read that thing last time, it was about, a homeowner-approved plan, but we're winging it. And it looks good, but the asphalt's not down, so I don't know what the swales will look like. And the plan currently is to channel it all right through our yards again. And that's just a bad plan. Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further public comment, we'll move on with the meeting.
Excuse me.
Excuse me?
Hello. Olivia, I'm actually here in the village, but I just want to say that I very much relate to a lot of what's been said here today, that I'm having a lot of the same problems here in the village. And I'm wondering if there's, at some point, when do we look at our communities as a whole in attempting to upgrade our systems from where we began and over the last several decades of what development has come in? Did we upgrade all of our fundamentals as other developments have gone on to be able to sustain and withhold what comes at us? And that's all.
Thank you.
Yes?
Supervisor Lindsay, I just want to, she's from the village. My name is Brian Fredrickson. I live at the top of Mountain Avenue. And just to get on record, I see the village, and I know my issues are going to be with the village rather than the town. But we're getting the same issues. The water runs off. We got the issues with West Point and the farm, and all the water goes into the Buttermilk Brook behind my house, wiped away my whole wall, the whole foundation. flooded my whole house. I was able to get a lot of it done. But I think what she said is, there's a whole issue with the area. I know the village falls under the town, and I have my own issues with the DOT, because the way they repaved the road last year, the water flows into my house, and then the pitch is away from the actual drainage, so all the water flows into my house and then hits my neighbors. I just wanted to get it on record exactly what's going on, that it's not, that it's an overall thing with the town of Highlands, including the village and that. I'll be continuing my pursuit against the village with figuring out what to do with the wall, because those water outflow pipes dumped all that water into the brook that then caused all the damage. I mean, like, it's really, like, I can't even, I'm still red tagged, but I had to move my family in because I don't have any more money to go live at a hotel, and school's starting. So I think that what a lot of people said is, there has to be an overall plan. And I know that the engineer, the head engineer, I forget his name, he's working really hard on it, but I think that that the whole town of Highlands should be updated on it. Because I can't touch my wall until I have an answer. The village ain't giving me an answer. I haven't heard anything from anybody, really. I'm assuming that I'm gonna have to take an SBA loan once IA doesn't come through, because it doesn't look like it is. And then that's 80 grand right there to take the wall out, put the wall in, rebuild back my foundation, rebuild back the ground between my foundation and the brook. And I'm already 50, 60 in just to repair the house itself. And it's just, I think there's an overall plan, and I think that we're all frustrated from the village and from the town that we don't have answers. I have no answers. And I just want an answer. I know we're waiting for IA, because once they say yes and no, then small businesses waiting for that. I watched the meeting with the Orange County Emergency. I got that. That was a good meeting. I don't know if you saw it. It's on YouTube. It was from the other day. Someone posted it about where they are in the process. Rubco does have all the things. They're going to be paying them out, but they haven't paid anybody out yet. It's just that nobody has answers. And I think it's an overall town issue. This really isn't against you guys. I just want to get on record with everybody that's watching the town meetings that this is an overall thing for the area. And I'm new here in the area, just here over a year. Bought the house, spent money to fix up the house, and then the house got destroyed and spent more money to fix it up now. It's just, it seems from hearing from them, and I watched the meeting 2 weeks ago, nobody has answers. And I know you guys don't have answers. But something, just give us something, a halfway plan, what do they have for this water mitigation that's only gonna get worse? Because every time it rains, every time the brook rises in my house, more earth gets washed away. More earth, exposing more of my foundation. And I can't touch that until I get an answer, yes or no, because I don't want anyone saying that, oh, you did this, you made it worse, so now we're not gonna cover it. It's just for the boards thing, no, and I know you guys do know, but for everyone else watching, it's an overall thing with the town. Like I said, my issue is gonna be with the village, it looks like, and as I was just informed that that's a village issue with the road and DOT and everything else, but I just wanna let everybody know that the village is with you because we have a lot of the water mitigation issues, and I'm at the top of the mountain, so all that water hits my house first. And it just funnels in from West Point. They have their own issues. Like, who knows what we're gonna do with that? And then for that farmhouse thing, it's a whole big mess in the area. I just want to get that on record for people at home and everything else. That's you guys and us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I say something? Just, Brian, since you mentioned, because I was going to talk about it, just the update from that video, just so people know, Orange County numbers have been met. All RUPCO monies have been allocated to individuals. If you receive money from RUPCO, you won't get it again from FEMA. FEMA will not make people whole. Even if FEMA doesn't approve us, SBA loans will be available for individual homeowners. That's what some of the facts that came out of that video. I think I got that right.
Good video. You guys should post it on the website so that on the town.
On the town,
So everyone
okay.
sees it.
We'll see that it's done. Thank you.
I'm sure Kelly can get that posted on the video. If you could give her the
I will.
way in.
I'll give her the link. I have it on my phone.
Just to talk about town and village, there's nobody in the town out, and we'll call it Fort Montgomery and Highland Falls, it's easier to put it that way. This is the town government, the Fort Montgomery government, the villages across the street. Sure, it would be nice if we were one. It would be nice, and we had one government, but we don't. The village has their own engineers and their own village board and their own mayor. They have it all, same as we do down our way. That's the way it is, and there was a group of people that tried to change that a year or two ago. It didn't happen, but I understand your frustration by saying, well, why can't we all get together and make one big plan on what we're going to do? I understand that, but we aren't one big town or village or whatever you want to call it. Sadly enough, you have a mountain, not a mountain, you got a hill that separates the town and the village, and it really does. It doesn't make things better having the two governments, but that's what we have, and there's nothing we can do about it at this point in time.
And in regard to Highland Brook, I mean, I watch the village board meetings too. Their engineer, Todd Atkins, a very capable person, described they're looking for people's surveys, because on Highland Brook, there are some houses that own all the way across the brook, and there are other houses that own to the middle, and other houses only own to the wall. They have like a year's worth of mess just to clean that up if they want to go in there and do anything. I cite as an example the little purple and yellow house on Mountain Avenue owns all the way across the brook. I think that house got red tag. So that, and it's, nobody wants to hear it's complicated, let's do something. Major project. That's like be like $50 million to go down here at Wyant Green, which is at the end of the run that got blasted, people had to be rescued, to the top of the run. So it's not just the top of the run, it's the bottom too, all the way along. There were people heavily affected by something that I don't think I'll see again in my lifetime. But if you believe in climate change, which I do to a degree, things are changing. This has never happened before since I've lived here, not like this. So it is correct to say we have to have a plan.
Okay, we'll continue with the meeting then. We have the minutes of our last meeting. Do I have an approval?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. All right, I have a interfund transfer between the A fund and the DB fund. The A fund is the general fund, and the DB fund is highway. And highway needs money to pay, is that going to be still 55,000? Or did we change that? 550,000.
So,
That's 750,000.
right, so right now it's up to 750,000, as the bills keep coming in rather than a motion at each meeting, right? We'll set a benchmark. That should cover the emergency work, and then, as you know, you'll be working with the engineer to put together bid specifications to go out to bid to have more comprehensive long-term improvements.
And at the time, we're doing emergency work. Our emergency declaration runs out in a week. Then everything we do has to be done according to the book, where we have to go out for bids. We have to stay with our purchase guidelines. There's a lot to it. But anyway, let's get back to this interfund loan. An interfund loan means that we're taking money from one fund and putting it in another, but that money has to be paid back to the fund that we took it from.
Correct.
There's so much of this that's dependent on FEMA. We keep saying FEMA. FEMA hasn't even been to town or village yet to see if our estimates are any good. I hate to use that word, any good, if they're correct. If FEMA agrees with our estimates. In the town outside the village, we have about $21 million worth of estimates for roads, drainage, property, sewer plant. that's what we're estimating, and we've already passed some bonds, or we're going to be passing 2 more bonds tonight for a total of about $21 million. The work needs to be done, and we need to do it. And we assume that FEMA is going to come in for 75%. We assume that the state is going to come in for half of the 25% left over. So we kind of know that the town outside the village will be paying in the neighborhood of $5 million of their own bonding in order to get the bills paid. Now, our budget is normally about $6 million, so we're paying for this $5 million. That really sends the budget quite high. But we do have 20, 30 years to pay this off, and depending on where the work is being done. So anyway, with that explanation, which I probably confused everybody, including myself, but do I have a motion to move the resolution authorizing the interfund loan between the Town A Fund and the Town DB Fund for emergency road repairs?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Let me hold up. Maybe before I give you my vote, I need to make sure I clearly understood what you just said.
Okay.
So we talk about emergency fund for road repair? What type of road repair?
So this has been the existing emergency responses of Mindock Road, Wyant Road, and Canterbury. Right, so the work this gentleman was just speaking of right now is under the emergency, right? And right, someone had to come out and fix the road down to the sewer plant so that there could be access and fix the sewer plant. Couldn't wait, go out to bid, get full engineering specifications, which is this next phase, which will occur. Those things, at a minimum, going out to bid takes 30 days to let people to respond, then there's a review process internally, then there's an award, right? So the next phase will take sort of months to see more action.
I understood that part. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of, based off everything everybody just said, and I'm trying to take it all in and get in my mind a solution to some of these questions, right? And so I know the supervisor does a good job of managing this stuff. As we come to the conclusion that we're going to allocate this money, at what point do we address these questions? Is afterwards? We say, we're going to meet you in 30 days, and we're going to say, this is the new plan, this is the modified plan? How does that work?
Now I'm not following you.
All this is at the moment is paying bills for work that has been rendered.
So it's already been done?
It's been done.
Okay.
And
So that's what my
anticipation
confusion- okay.
of a little bit more, so to
Okay,
come.
so,
Yes, these are basically all TAM bills.
okay, we got to pay the bill, so I vote yes on that.
Okay.
Then I'll address this other question later.
Yes, Loretta?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilmember Yeager?
Aye.
Supervisor Lindsay?
Aye. Now we have a bond resolution, and I think I got to come out with another explanation. We're securing approximately $21 million worth of bonds to cover the estimated cost of repairs, roads, sewer plant, et cetera. So now we have these bonds in place. We can't even spend money out of them until 30 days, I think it is. But how are we going to pay off these bonds? Because we have to start paying. And the amount of, how much did you say the bonds will cost us per month?
Per year.
Per year.
It's approximately $90,000 per year per $1 million of bond.
Okay, $90,000 per $1 million bond.
Yeah.
Right. So how do we pay that? Well, they have this thing called bond anticipation notes. Now, this is an interest-bearing security that is issued in advance of a larger future bond issue. Bond anticipation notes are smaller, short-term bonds that are issued by corporations and governments, such as local municipalities, wishing to generate funds of upcoming projects. So what we will do is we're not going to be paying off on the bonds that we're passing tonight, $21 million. We will be using bond anticipation notes to pay off these bonds. And once we get everything settled, we know the amounts, then we go into the larger bond, which will be put together and all into one great big bond. Am I saying it right?
That's correct.
Okay. Justin, that was a layman's
No, that was-
explanation.
that was
How
an-
about the legal explanation?
That was an excellent explanation. Yes, in essence, you take bond anticipation notes, write short-term loans, and you roll them over until you've completed the bonding process, the construction process, understand ultimately, right? Right now, we anticipate $21 million. If all the bids come in well below that or well above that, right? All of that will need to be adjusted, and you'll ultimately put in place a long-term financing, wipe out your bond anticipation notes and have a bond, as the supervisor was saying. Still considering options, actually, right? Certain work has a useful life of 15 years, some has 30, some has 40. Sometimes they'll blend everything together. Sometimes it is more beneficial to the taxpayers to keep them in their segregated buckets, 15, 30, or 40. And so that determination will still be made in consultation with bond counsel and some of the financial advisors to the town. But some of that picture becomes cleaner in a year or 2 years when all of the construction is done and completed.
I think they understood more what I said than you, but that's okay.
I tried.
And by the way, the bond anticipation notes, when we use them, they have to be paid off in 1 year's time, or we can extend it.
Correct. Renewed.
Okay, I have a bond resolution authorizing issuance of bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $48,500 to finance the construction improvements to the town hall, stating that the estimated maximum cost thereof is $48,500 and appropriating said amount for such purpose. Someone want to move the resolution?
That's just for town hall, right, that one?
Yes.
That's specific?
Yeah.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilmember Yeager?
Aye.
Supervisor Lindsay?
Aye. Our next bond is for $163,000 for repairs and construction at the ambulance police building. That's from storm damage there. Do I have a motion to move the resolution?
Motion.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilmember Yeager?
Aye.
Supervisor Lindsay?
Aye. Board liaison reports. We'll start with Councilman Yeager.
Councilman Yeager. Oh, righty. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just have some updates here from our rec department on soccer registration is going to be finishing up this week, and practices start this week as well at O'Neill and Highland Falls Intermediate School. So that's great news. Our summer rec ended on another successful summer with all our, helpful folks that helped all our kids throughout the summertime and guided them way through some fun times here at Roe Park. We also, sponsored by the rec department, we had a Kids Day this past Saturday, which was a huge success with over 150 kids and families that attended, and all because the kids have been through a lot this summer, and they've all helped out a lot during the entire course of distribution of all the emergency aid and so forth in town, and it was a huge help from them and greatly appreciated. So maybe it's something also we can turn into something annual as a end of summer block bash for all the kids before they return back to school. And we're currently working with Army track and field team to host a community youth kickball game in mid-September. And our last movie night is tomorrow at 4:30 at the Highland Falls Library. And that's all I got.
Councilman DeWitt.
Pretty quiet on my end. Attended the Community Leader Information Forum meeting up at West Point this week. It's always good to see what all the communities are up to, West Point. Hopefully going to be meeting soon and talking with the Association of Grads. You know, we hear a lot of things that they're doing here in the town and village, investing in properties and so forth. Hoping to do a sit-down with them soon with some of us up here, kind of get a firsthand view of what their plan is. I think we've seen the village especially, where kind of, you know, probably we've never seen more businesses close, restaurants out of business. We desperately need some growth and any kind of plan to build things forward. Also met with the Orange County Chamber of Commerce and hopefully talked about expanding film work here. I know there's been stuff done in the past. We're going to keep on their radar because anything that we need money flowing in around here on all angles. Again, personally, I'm glad get everybody up from the top of Canterbury's here tonight. It is heavy. It's heavy and hard to hear the strife. And again, I know it's been 6+ weeks since the storm, and again, you're not being ignored. The cogs of government are rotating maybe too slowly for all of us, and especially you people up there. We'll keep trying. Department-wise, nothing. It's been pretty quiet. Everything's copacetic at the town garage, and I haven't heard, we have nothing new to report. So that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Councilman King.
Yeah, a couple of things. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. Basically, from my liaison report, I just wanted to share a few of my observations with the community as I was getting around in the last few weeks, talking to various groups of people. And I walk away with a sense that we have, in some cases, much joy out there in the community, but in others, much pain. And so, as we heard tonight, you know, about 60 days post-flood, there's still people recovering from devastation. It's painful as we go out, to say the least, to see our residents and our neighbors and our brothers and sisters out there trying to put their lives back together. So, but in the midst of all that, this Saturday I was out and I saw a lot of joy from the youth, thanks to Aaron and the volunteers, as they put together this event for kids to be out there at Roe Park. It reminds me of a much more innocent time for me, when you can see the smiles on their faces as they go through the slip and slide and get ready for school, and the excitement in the air. But it also, out of all that, makes me think that maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm not at the right meetings. Maybe I'm not somewhere I need to be to understand the complexities of what was shared today, and how we come up with strategic plans to even address what you're talking about there, Joe, when it starts talking about economic development. Are we just hoping that people are going to pop in here and take over these empty buildings? Or do we have a strategic plan to try to bring that to fruition? And if the answer is no, then I'm saying we need to do more. If the answer is yes and I'm just at the wrong place, then somebody just point me in the right direction, because I need to do better. So my heart goes out to folks that there. I certainly am here to do whatever I can do to help and understand your problems better. But just don't give up. Just keep pushing. We're going to get there together. That's all I got.
Councilman Sullivan.
You sure about this? Okay.
Thank
Gonna
you.
get a little bit of injection of a little bit of truth in my report, okay? So the Zoning Board of Appeals, they met on the 16th, and at that meeting, they had 2 public hearings. both of which were decided that night. That's rather good, because they do have the right to wait 62 days to vote. They voted then and there that night. One of those matters was the interpretation of live trees in an array being interpreted as a fence line. They found it on that matter as standing by our building inspector and voted to support him. The other one was for this building behind me here, this empty lot, which was Niagara Falls, and during the storm. And it had to do with relief from Code 240-37B from the required residential floor area of 750 square feet. That's not a lot. To 574 square feet for 3 of the proposed 9 apartment dwellings, a 23% variance. And the other part of that, and this has come up for a long time, was relief from 240-25, the required minimum lot area of 2,500 square feet per dwelling unit to 374 square feet per dwelling unit, an 85% variance. So if you watch the village meetings, and thankfully Mr. Ramus is here, I'm glad he came, that discussion's been going on for a while, the 2,500 and the 350. This number I'm seeing is just an ounce over the 350, so I'm not going to offer any opinion except to say that their votes were unanimous and they declined the application based upon what I just told you. So the village is going through, perhaps soon, their comprehensive plan and whatnot. It's complicated. And the community, is the reality starting to stand with everybody? With what's $21 million? We're not going to get all that back. Is everybody like kind of feeling the reality of what's going on here? And that's kind of what's happening. And it's sad that that business didn't move forward, but it fell far short of what the code, and that was their ruling on that. Dean, thankfully, is the liaison to the planning board. We both went to their last meeting, and Dean said, he said, Richie, go ahead and talk. Not that I have any more to offer than him, except there was a discussion at the meeting. I don't think you were there, Justin. They didn't have you come in. So, let me get into this here. So at that planning board meeting was a discussion about what should we be doing. Should we just let developers not pay any taxes for 10 years, not charge them any fees, et cetera, and so on? And I am not comparing Highland Falls to Fort Montgomery. I would just like to talk a little about Fort Montgomery, because I was on the planning board for a good number of years. In the last 20 years, we've had Corbin Hill up top is a town road, meets town spec. Dry Creek Road on Mine Road is a town road. It meets town spec. You've had Fort Fitness was built. That's a successful business. You had Fort Storage was built, which, by the way, took a big hit from this storm. They lost a lot of their stuff there. That was built. You had the Holiday Inn was built. Next to the Holiday Inn is approval for another building. It's had a couple of continuances, as well as a restaurant on that property. So and down by the across from the firehouse, that delicatessen, the owner speaks to me often. That's a very successful business, and applauds the help that the town building department offered for him to get through that project. And there's another business in Fort Montgomery I'm not going to name that recently got a site plan approval and is moving forward after some trauma. I'm just going to say that their fees for their services have not been paid yet. Now let me talk about that for just a minute. Justin's been doing this for a long time. These people come before the planning board and you say, let's not charge them any fees. You have professionals that are attorneys and engineers, some of whom are making several $100s an hour. It needs to be reviewed. And I would like to go back to 2006. Justin was here. We had an incredible private executive session where I fired the engineer because he was charging more money for reviewing than what the engineers were charging to design it. So we keep that under watch. But the taxpayers should not be expected to pay for a private developer to have something reviewed by the town. That's why we do that, okay? And I'm just naming that one place has not paid their fees yet. On the building department, and Fort Montgomery is a huge success, including Bob's Restaurant. The building department, Melanie gave the building report at the village board meeting, for which I am thankful, and I will read those numbers as well. And after that, As Paul Harvey used to say, I'm going to give you the rest of the story, okay? So there were 22 permit applications were received, 14 permits were issued, 6 certificates of compliance were issued, 18 building permit inspections, 4 violation notices were issued, 2 violation notices closed out, 7 municipal searches, 2 zoning variance applications received, 19 FOIL requests. By the way, the next zoning board meeting, which is open to the public on the 3rd Wednesday of every month, is going to have 4 public hearings. And I don't know which the addresses are, but they will have 4 public hearings, 7 o'clock here on the 3rd Wednesday. To finish up this report, 9 houses were destroyed, 84 had major damage, 12 minor damage, 6 were affected. And now for the rest of the story. There are rumors circulating about the building department giving Andy's Restaurant a hard time to get up and going again. That business has procured the necessary demolition and building permits to move forward. The building department is going out of their way to help them. None of these permits incurred any fees. If it's a storm-related fee, they're not being charged at this point in time. That won't last forever, but if it's storm-related, there'll be no fee for a building permit. The town board agreed would not be charged by the building department. Next door to Andy's Restaurant is a laundromat. That laundromat had its electric turned off by Orange and Rockland because the meters weren't reading. These meters were submerged during the part of the flood and were not functioning. They were transmitting electricity, but they weren't reading, so ONR came and shut them off. Within an hour, the building department had an electrician over there recommended to help rectify that problem. When I went by, that place was operational. So that is what's really going on with the building department. And one final notice down here at 72 Station Hill Road. There's RVs parked down there. That's the old marina. There's been a lot of complaints down there. The Department of Health was there early last week, and they will be returning later this week because there are some violations going on down there. So it is being addressed. Right now, people don't really want to hear about the trauma of violations being enforced. There's been complaints about it, and it's being addressed. The historian, Ronnie Coffey, contacted me, and I think she contacted Bob as well. Verizon was working on something on the roof of Village Hall, and it caused a huge leak in the ceiling. Fortunately, no archives or artifacts or maps were damaged, but the office equipment, computers, fax machines, copiers will need to be replaced. The engineers from Verizon said they will assume responsibility for this to replace these items. This will take a while. Consequently, I'll be working from home for at least a week or 2, but I will maintain the same hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from 9 till noon, and will use my own phone. So it's open, the usual hours, but there has been some trauma there, and she wanted me to transmit that message. The CEAC, the Community Environmental Advisory Committee, met last Friday for their annual picnic. I was unable to make it. I understand Chris Ekis was there. Were you there, Joe?
Yes, I was.
So if you want to elaborate on it, I wasn't there. I don't know how many people attended and all that. It's a good organization. We meet on the 2nd Friday of the month normally here, and there's been some people leave. There's room to join. I think it's posted on our website if you're interested in it, or on Facebook. And that's it, except to say that this gentleman, I want your phone number at this meeting for the rest of the story, okay? Thank you.
For the benefit of what I had to say before, the separation between the town and the village, with the report just given and the report that was given over here, I think most people realize that the planning board, the ZBA, recreation, the court, ambulance, they are shared services. There is no separate one for the village or a separate one from the town. They're shared services. So when we talk about going to the planning board, and the building inspector is a shared service. So I think you just keep that in back of your mind that not everything is separate. We have a lot of good services together. The historian is a shared service.
Yes.
The library is a shared service. So there's a lot that we do together. Talking about our court, Christine from the court. Christine is one of the court clerks. I received a phone call, actually it was a message on my machine, talking about what a great experience this person had with her, and that she helped him out tremendously in a problem that he was having, and he wanted me to be sure to let the public know and to let her judges know that she did a tremendous job for him and should be complimented. So that's why I'm bringing that up. Kelly, do you have anything? No. Chief, do you have anything? Okay. And under, do you have anything? No? I've worked you enough today. Prior to this meeting, we had a 1-hour executive session, which we received some advice from our attorney and spoke about the police department. But that's all covered under executive session, and therefore I can't get the specifics. Security assessment of the court and town hall. The court staff attended a training program, and as a result of the training program, the Office of Courts outside of New York City coordinates sending court security professionals to conduct a free security assessment of the court sites to include personnel, site, property safety. The court asked us if that would be all right for us to allow them in, and of course it is. I'm kind of worried about what's going to cost us at the end, even though it's a free assessment, but we'll see what happens there. County Department of Planning gave our dial-a-ride an annual evaluation. I could go through each financial management, technical capacities, satisfactorily continuing control, maintenance, procurement, disadvantaged business and enterprise, Title VI, Americans with disabilities. All of these things I'm reading off here are satisfactory. So in other words, they pass with flying colors. There was a question on our two charging stations down. You want to bring that up?
Well, we're going to talk to
Yeah.
the man that runs that organization, and had assured us that nobody was getting charged, what was it, the $2.50 or whatever. And it was, what that charge is it, when you charge your vehicle, you have the responsibility of monitoring when it's done, because when it's done, you're supposed to move on to make room for somebody else. That's when those charges kicked in. In conversation, and I requested, and Olga got it done, thank you again, Olga, what they're gonna do is attach a 15-minute grace period. So if your car is done charging, you have a 15-minute grace period to come get it and get it out before those charges get attached. But they weren't being, again, it wasn't being charged until after your car was being charged. But now there's a 15-minute grace, so that should give people a little leeway.
Okay. I have a resignation from Town of Highlands police officer, Richard Brooks Lyman. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve the people of Highlands. I would like to thank you and the town board of Highlands for allowing me to recover from my health issues. It is now, however, time for me to move on and allow someone else to fill my post. My good wishes to the Town of Highlands Police Department and the town board. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
Motion.
Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, I forgot one thing. How did I forget this one?
I was going to ask you about that.
The next Sunday, September 3rd, is the 62nd annual memorial celebration for the Buffalo Soldiers Association of West Point, and they'll do their annual wreath laying ceremony at the monument right there at Buffalo Soldier Field at 1 p.m. It's free and open to the public. And then after that, at 2:30 p.m., there's a luncheon at Eisenhower Hall Grand Ballroom on 655 Pritchard Road, West Point, New York. The keynote speaker this year is Major General retired Barry L. Price, Ph.D. And so that's the Buffalo Soldiers. And for those who remember Sergeant Sanders H. Matthews, our beloved Buffalo soldier who lived till he was 94 years old, 96 years old. When I came out of the Army, he was 94. 2 years later, he passed at 96. Lived up on West Street, was a cop here in town. People like Richie Sullivan remember him well. And so his face is now on the monument over there. But for those
Teasing me.
who don't know, we used to have, a long time ago, from 1906 to 1947, the storybook Buffalo Soldiers were stationed at West Point. A detachment was training the cadets on how to do military tactics on horseback, and now they're all dead. And so 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of them are buried at West Point, but they created an association to remember the service of their comrades, and that thing is now 62 years old. Hope to see you there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Our next meeting is on September the 11th, and we decided we were going to
Meet at 5.
meet at 5. It was at 5? Okay with 5?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a ceremony in the town of Highlands for the 911 memorial service and first responders recognition. That'll be Monday, September the 11th, at the 911 Gardens, formerly Patriot Garden. The ceremony will begin at 6:30 p.m. There's limited seating, so bring a chair if you think you need a chair. Is there any other public comment? Anyone else? Jim?
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, board members. I apologize for coming late. I don't even know if anybody asked this question earlier. I noticed that the town is going to be doing some bonds, and you did speak about the combined services, and we know there's an A and a B fund. And I was just wondering, and I don't need the answer tonight, I was just wondering how much of that bond that the town's going to be floating is going to be paid out of the A fund and the B fund. And if you can get back to me on that, it'd be greatly appreciated. It's pretty simple. Thank you.
Do you have a quick answer?
I do.
Oh, okay. I don't want Jimmy waiting with bated breath
I have patience.
So the A fund is 769,000. That's the total, not the 75, that's 25%. That would hopefully be our responsibility after FEMA. And the B fund is 54,000, and the DB fund is 18 million.
Great, thank you.
And there's a few other small ones.
Okay. Gary, did you have any kind of a report from the fund that you're in charge of? Not in charge of, but...
I'm Gary Leslie, on 48 Row, Row Park. So I know the first meeting is supposed to be, I think, on the 6th of September. So if those who don't know, there's been, I guess, monies flowing in from different organizations for grant money. I guess I was appointed, and I appreciate it, I'm very humbled to serve on the board. I guess there's 3 other people serving on the board. So we're supposed to meet on the 6th to kind of figure out what the structure and criteria is supposed to look like for the granting of the monies. Now, I have no idea how much the monies are, or what's the inflow of it. I think that the first meeting is gonna be to provide that structure and to figure out how we're gonna go about doing that. So my intent is to keep coming to these board meetings as I have information about how those monies will be allocated, because obviously there'll be an application process likely. There'll probably be some sort of limit, though I don't want to speculate because we haven't stood any of that up yet, because we haven't had our first meeting yet. But as soon as I get that information, I'll make sure it gets put out at both here at the board meeting. I also attend the village meetings as well with my wife. So I'll make sure that gets voiced there. So Waterfall, I don't have anything else, but you'll be seeing my face around here so you feel free to come on up, ask me questions, kind of get to know me, and, we'll go from there. So, thanks.
Gary, thank you very much.
Can I throw out a question?
Yeah.
I'm going to do a reverse public opinion. Jim, I saw the Verizon emergency tower was going down at Roe Park today. Is that section of road going to be able to be reopened, or is it damaged and needs repair before it's reopened?
Definitely needs repair work.
So it's,
I mean, the water was flowing under, over, through. It's really bad. So it's on our lists of things to do. Just not sure where, you know what I mean, but it's definitely on the list.
okay, cool. Thanks, Jim.
I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Sure, come on.
I just wanted to add that with the water situation, I also own a property on Mountain Avenue, and in regards to that area by the park, since the July 9th situation, since then, all of the rainfall has been continuously causing problems. Over by the park, there's water actively flowing through the whole Little League field and out into the roadway and through into the Roe Park Pond. So I'm just wondering if it's on the radar that this water has opened up some other channels that water's continuously flowing through. My property on Mountain Avenue, I lost, had to be about 40 tons worth of land in general, just land, and about 3 feet or so underneath the land, I now have an active water flow regularly at that spot. So just, is it on the radar to maybe be looking for and addressing what other kind of maybe unforeseen damage has been done around the town and the village? And also with, you said that we do not actually have any real commitment from FEMA yet. Is there anything that the residents need to continue doing in order to push to get that assistance?
Not that I know of.
It's just a waiting game at this point?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You got to be careful what you do, because I understand, and Justin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that if you do something, you fix your porch up or what have you, and then you say to FEMA, look, I fixed my porch, it cost me $3,000, can you pay for it? They're going to say no.
Okay.
Am I right, Justin?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about the town and the village, that we're essentially separate entities, but there are some areas that we do overlap in and
Yes.
whatnot. Is there maybe some sort of guide out on either website for who's in charge of what, or who we need to be contacting for certain issues?
Yeah, on the town's end, on Channel 23, we have a list of our officers, and then we have a website, Town of Highlands,
Highlands-ny.gov.
and the village, I'm sure, has a similar thing.
And I'm just curious if there's an update with the Open Bridge, that all of the work was done over there and we're still at 3 lanes. Is there a reason for that? Was something not completely fixed there, or is there still work to be done that we're still only 3 or 4 lanes on the bridge?
There's still storm work to be done under the
Still work.
bridge, under the
Okay.
bridge. That's why you don't see them working on top of the bridge, they're under the bridge.
Underneath. Okay. And the last thing I just want to mention to the general public, if you have not been to the Historical Society here in the village, it is absolutely worth a trip. It's really fantastic. So
It is. Thank
get
you.
down there and take a look around. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir.
So as we leave the meeting tonight, what can we expect would be the next steps? And who would be carrying that out to resolve these numerous issues, so that we have an understanding as we go home now, okay, how things are going to be done?
There is no specific person that is going to be carrying the load, if you will. our highway department, with the advice of our engineer, will be carrying the load, if you will, on the roads and drainage and et cetera. The sewer plant work down there would be, the employees at the sewer plant, our engineer and Councilman Sullivan.
I'll be happy to communicate. Be prepared for raw truth. I don't candy coat anything, okay? So,
Who the engineer is?
Lankin Tully.
Yeah.
The name of the company, Lankin Tully. We've dealt with, I think they got 3 or 4
Yeah.
head engineers that we've dealt with them all.
with a town this small, you're not going to employ an engineer full-time. You'd have to be at a city or whatnot, so you use consultants. They're a very good consultant, and they've been heavily involved with all this. Maybe I'll have John come to a meeting if he thinks he can handle it, you know? I think there's sort of a need for it.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it would be nice because like I said, I've been told by
Yeah.
numerous people that basically they were just, again, winging it. Those were their exact
Yeah.
words. So.
I don't want to get the town
Wing
sued.
it because it's an emergency
Yeah.
situation? Are they going to not wing it when they do non-emerg?
I don't want to get the town sued. Your road has evolved over the years into a private road. And you've heard me say, a little bit of raw truth, that things we're approving cannot be used for private stuff. Is that correct? Does anybody disagree with that?
She's talking Canterbury.
What about Canterbury Road?
Yeah.
Like I said, I appreciate the work's being done. A lot of money obviously was spent, but if it wasn't done with the advisement or whatever, construction of, or plans of engineer, that to me is just
So,
shameful.
right. So there is an emergency response team that is coordinating the approach. The level of detail and engineering plans are not the same as the permanent improvements, right? And that's the distinction, right? The roads had to be made passable, right? And to stop, ideally stop further damage. It's not always a clear line and right, where that is. In consultation with engineers, in consultation with the team that responds. Certainly, when you're randomly speaking to someone who is out working, right, they're going to say what they're going to say, right, and we can't control their response. But it is not fine, sorry. The town is not winging it, right, but the town has other governments they need to interface with, other professionals they need to interface with the initial response, right? And I appreciate we're 7 weeks out, right? But to make roads passable, right? And primarily, and right, it's just the reality of how town government works, right? Public roads and the public infrastructure, right? That is their duty. And now, right, you've heard, well, I don't know if you were at the last meeting. I know some of you were, right? There are multiple bond resolutions, right? Engineers are now working on more detailed plans and specifications. All of that will go out to bid, right? Those bids will be responded to, but certainly there will be detailed engineering before the town spends $25 million of taxpayer money, right? Even if it's reimbursed by FEMA or New York State, right? Those are all things we pay for in different ways. So the initial response has to be with some level of immediacy to, right, ensure that there can be access to your homes or safer access to your homes, or the sewage, as the supervisor spoke to 2 weeks ago, stop going into the Hudson River, right? That emergency response is a different level of engineering, right? You have to get the sewage to stop going in the river, right? But then, now, meetings are ongoing, plans are being developed, $18 million, right, just in the DB fund to do this road and drainage work. But it does, I appreciate that it is extremely frustrating and it's been devastating in this community. But as was mentioned by one of the members of the board, right, government works a little slower than the private sector, and it's Not because this government is not trying to do so, but it's because everything has to go up and up and up. Right, Gary, as another committee, I wasn't even aware there's another committee for the grants, and that's wonderful, right? And Gary's gonna try to get good information and get it out to the public, but he's on the committee, doesn't have the information yet. And it takes some time to go through that process, and the actual construction work will take years. So it is being planned.
Yeah.
But the immediate response had to allow you to drive up to the top of Canterbury Road.
We are definitely trying to work with the people, for the people. We just did something tonight downstairs, and it's no big deal. Compared to your problems, it's no big deal what we just did, but under my emergency powers, I took away the building permit fees. No big deal, but if...
For storm-related matters.
Yeah, for storm. If the storm messed your place up, I don't want you to pay a building permit to put your place back together again. So my emergency powers are only going to be one more week, and then I have no more emergency powers. But what we're going to do at our next meeting is we're going to have a resolution from the entire town board saying that, okay, no more fees for storm-related building permits. So we're trying to keep up with what's going on, and that's, again, I mentioned, it's just a small thing. But for somebody that has got thousands of dollars of repairs to do, and we say, okay, you got to pay another $700 fee for your building permit, boy, that just doesn't sit with me right. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate